Thank you for having me. My name is Patricia. I work at the Royal Institute for Deaf and Blind Children in Sydney, Australia. I'm a consultant with the Teleschool remote service and did a research project that was started in 2017 and is still going on. So I'd like to share with you my screen now to start a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, the study I did was of Braille reading fluency, and I did it in both Australia and New Zealand. And to conclude, I want to introduce you to the resources that were created since the research. Okay, where did it happen? There were 73 Braille and dual media students in Australia and New Zealand who were assessed. The cities that were visited on the research trip were Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Cairns in far north Queensland, Brisbane, Sydney, Auckland and Christchurch. I'm going to step straight into the results. The primary student results, numbering 23, and these students are all Braille reading only students, not dual media. I'm going to show a graph, and there's only a couple of things I'd like you to take from it. It's a comparison of our primary school students against cited oral reading frequency norms. There's two things on the graph that stand out. One is a dark line that shows the norms for the age of the student and the year. More importantly, there is a grey line underneath which shows the scores of our Braille reading students. Of the 23 students, only one of them met or exceeded the cited norms. All others were well below the cited norms. The secondary student results, the number being 29, show that from students year 7 to 12, of them, 9% or 3 students were 1 to 2 years behind the oral frequency rate. Another 9% were greater than 2 to 4 years behind their sighted peers, and 82% could not score on the scale. We considered different variables: the eye condition, whether they were one-handed or two-handed readers, whether their curriculum came to them in Braille, print or audio, the length of time they'd been learning Braille, whether they were Braille only or dual media. There was a significant difference between these two groups. I'm only talking about Braille reading students today. Whether they read for leisure, and if they do read for leisure, do they read in Braille? This research created more questions than answers. It is generally thought in education that reading fluency is directly related to comprehension. Our students didn't score well in their fluency rates. However, they are doing well in school. Is this first statement the case with Braille reading students? And it would take more research to look at the impact of disfluency on comprehension. Too big a research to talk about now. The other part of the research was to do a survey of vision support teachers, visiting teachers, itinerant teachers. They filled out a questionnaire, and there were 40 of these teachers that obliged. They were given a piece of paper that asked what mainstream reading materials they used with their Braille reading students. They were asked what specific Braille reading materials they use with their students. They were asked what teaching strategies they use, any mnemonics they use to help them remember the configuration of the Braille cell, and apps. And I gave them a couple of samples of mnemonics on the page. The main thing that the teachers reported was that in the early years, experience materials were essential. The survey of vision support teachers emphasised the importance of personalised, handmade experience books and materials to assist the students to gain meaningful information through literacy. Contents of the book are based on the child's rich life experiences. And I'm showing a sample of 2 pictures of books from Perkins School for the Blind. One is called Routines and the other is called My Summer. Most teachers like to use fun and games. One of the things they did always was get interesting topics relating to the child, and they're found on the internet and then converted into Braille. These included word searches, interesting facts, games, jokes, recipes, and many other activities. Card games such as Go Fish and Old Maid, flip books with names and letters on them, language mastercards, posting boxes, fishing games, memory games, board games, matching games, and book bags or book sacks with meaningful objects placed inside the bag or sack along with the book. The Braille specific resources used by vision support teachers, I'm showing 4 at the moment. They're Aussie Dots, I Do Like It, Patterns, and the Mangold Braille Reading Program. The first 2 are both Australian programs, the others are from the United States, but these were also in their list. Spot the Dot, Braille in Easy Steps, Abbey Books, UEB Practice Sentences, Anne and Friends, Ready to Read, Braille for Infants, Take Off Braille Reading Series, Ladybird Graduated Braille Readers, and alphabet books with tactile pictures. What has happened since the research? I'm not working with the figures anymore, I'm working with anecdotal observations. In the testing, the majority of reading accuracy errors were Braille reversals. I did not do a complete running record, therefore don't have the figures to prove this, but that was an observation made by myself. And 2, parents invest a great deal of time and money in their sighted children's literacy. They may not have the resources or knowledge to be able to do the same with their child who is blind. So, this next part of the presentation looks at the resources that I made since the research to help parents understand the Braille code. There is a graphic on the screen that nobody can read. It is far too small, but on the left, there are 38 books that have been developed to introduce parents to the UEB Braille code. And I will go through the other aspect of the flowchart following. Okay, to address the reversal problem, we've got 3D printed files that you can download. The magic square, which is Fall Down the Hill, Jill, and that will be demonstrated in a minute. The slippery dip, E and I, also demonstrated. A Christmas tree that addresses ST and CH. And there's a reversals workbook. So you can download any of those 3 files and 3D print them. There are YouTube videos. One addressing FDHJ, and there you can see the magic square being used. Fall down the hill, Jill. F, top left corner, D, top right, H, bottom left, J, bottom right. And if you flip that in any direction, it will always say fall down the hill, Jill. That square will be magic until you put print on it, then it is no longer magic because the print will start turning upside down. There is also one about E and I. I goes up to the sky. There's a picture of a slippery dip there. And E, wee, goes down to the earth. Another mnemonic video is W points to the west and R points to the right. There has been a reversal book created. A picture sample here showing I pointing up to the sky. I have taken a shortcut and not used a grade 1 indicator in front of I or E, just so it's a little bit easier for little fingers. The other reversals in the workbook are FDHJ and U, N, ED, the, Z, P, TH, ST, CH, M, SH, with, of. The alphabet books. This is the beginning of the introduction to the UEB code. And it says on each book, a book to help children and their parents to learn some of the basics of the Braille code. Alphabet books, there's one for kids, which is general, one about transport, music, food, and games. Then we go into standalone word sign books, and there is a parent page. About this book, underline indicates a Braille contraction, which is a norm that has been used in many different places to indicate contracted Braille. So written there in uncontracted Braille is I, like, L-I-K-E. Directly under it, we've got I, L for like. Then we've got a label, which is milk, and then a sentence at the bottom in grade 2 Braille, I like milk. Then at the end of each book, the standalone word signs, it reminds the parent what the standalone word sign is. A, B, but, C, can, D, do, etc. Then we start with the standalone alphabet word signs. You'll see here that I've got on the top, do you like chocolate, written in grade 1 Braille or uncontracted Braille. At the bottom, do you like chocolate, written in contracted Braille, and the word chocolate is written contracted. I have just about to produce version 2, and I realized that this particular graphic here does not represent what I am wanting the parents or the children to learn. I do not want them to learn grade 1 Braille before grade 2. So version 2 will be exactly the same, except it will only be presented in contracted Braille. The group signs, this is an example of an OW contraction with a cow and a sow. And it says, go slow when you mow between the cow and the sow. Then we've got initial word signs. We've got a very grumpy school teacher. And on one side of her, she's got a whole lot of books. On the other side, she's got a whole lot of shoes. And she says, upon my word, whose are these and those? This phrase has been taken from the Unified English Braille Australian Training Manual. Now, all of the UEB code is represented in these 38 booklets. Lower contractions, final contractions, and all the short forms. There's linked to video footage of reversal mnemonics. There's 3D printing files of reversals and other useful resources, which I'll tell you about now. There are tactile graphics kits, originally designed for audio tactile graphics for the Nomad computer, now just tactile graphics in kits. There's one on map reading, there's one on human biology. Most of these kits contain about 15 to 20 pages. There's map reading, human biology, concept development, sports, orientation and mobility, and how many. There are Braille reference books for sighted adults, parents and school teachers, trying to use the formal language, plus a Braille reference book that matches in Braille for the student. There are checklists, the UEB code, the learning media profile, and all files are available for $10 Australian for the entire bundle. The idea of this is that the files are available, you make them yourselves. So for the entire bundle, it is £5. Euro, about €6. I don't know what the exchange rate is today, but they can all be made by yourself in an organisation that has access to embossers, microcapsule paper, swelling, etc. And these files can be found at dapdots.ridbc.org.au. I'll say that one more time. Dapdots, dapdots.ridbc.org.au. Thank you for allowing me to present this. I hope you access the booklets, the files, so you can teach the UEB Braille code, but also use some fun and games with some of the 3D files. Sorry, the 3D files and the reversals booklet. Thank you very much.